Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to share like a cool fun fact with you. Did you know that all of the world's pandas belong to China? All of them. Like even pandas in American zoos, they belong to China. They're on loan from China. If two pandas in an Australian zoo get together and have a baby panda, that panda still belongs to China. They are the sole owner, sole proprietor of any panda in the entire world. And in China, the sentence for buying a panda on like the black market or I don't know, wherever you buy pandas, is no less than 10 years. 10 years is the minimum that you can spend in prison for buying a panda. China is not playing about their pandas, all right? Okay. I know you're saying, Taylor, why is this information important? Because it's cool, but also it's going to come back around. Okay. So today's story takes place in China. You guessed it. In a small village. I don't know the name of the village. I'm so sorry. But before we get to the village, let's talk about TikTok. Yeah, because everyone loves TikTok. And everyone loves influencers. You guys know the influencer Logan Paul and how he went to I think it was China, and went to like a death forest and was really just fucking disrespectful. And he filmed the whole thing. Well, that's not a rare occurrence on TikTok, okay? People on TikTok like to go to other places and do things all of the time, things that they maybe shouldn't do, but also things that they really should do, like philanthropy. And that's where this story starts. Some TikTokers in China, TikTok is actually called Douyin. We're going to call it TikTok for the rest of the story, okay? Some TikTokers went to a small village or go to multiple small villages in China and they show the living conditions of that village. And they try to draw attention to how these people are living. Some people call it poverty porn, you know? It really gets people going, seeing how some people live. But the purpose is philanthropy, okay? They want to bring attention to how these people are living and try to help any way they can. So one day, a TikToker goes to this small village in China and comes across this man. This man's name is something I cannot pronounce, and normally I would try really hard, but this man is it ends up being such a piece of shit that I'm not worried about it. We're gonna call him Dad of Eight. So this TikToker comes across Dad of Eight, and of course he's got eight children, but he's living in squalor. Okay, there's mess everywhere. He doesn't have enough money to feed the kids. The house is disgusting. And he tells this TikToker, yeah, the government helps me. They send me the equivalent of about $300 a month to feed eight kids and himself and his elderly mother. So the TikToker brings attention to this, and the audience of this TikToker is like, oh my gosh, we want to help. We want to send donations. How do we do that? So he sets up some sort of donation funnel system for the person we're going to call Dad of Eight. And Dad of Eight is so thankful that he's like, cool. I'm going to start doing TikToks. I'm going to start collecting my own donations so that I can feed my children. And we love that. We love that for us. So he starts doing his own TikToks. He starts doing TikToks showing his life, showing his children's lives, introducing all of his children, and he starts taking donations. And he does get a lot of donations, but he also gets a lot of questions. And the main questions were, what are the kids' names? Can we be introduced to your kids? This man has eight kids, okay, seven boys and one girl. And I know that you're thinking to yourself, okay, but what about China's one child policy? Yeah, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Just stay with me, okay? He has seven boys and one girl, and he has named them, buckle up for this part. The girl's name is Silver Phoenix. And okay, that's a translation, fine, but that's his translation, okay? He has translated that into English for us, and it is Silver Phoenix. The sons' names are Hong Kong, Aerospace, Gold Mountain, Silver Mountain, and International. Yeah, so everybody's like, well, these are interesting names. How did you come up with this? And his explanation is, well, that's how the money travels, okay? When the money comes out of the gold mountain or the silver mountain or the silver phoenix, it ends up in the bank. And if the bank can't hold on to it, it ends up in the treasury. And if the treasury doesn't have it, it ends up in the aerospace or internationally. Basically, he had decided that money was going to flow through his family one way or the other. Well, I guess specifically through his children's names. Whatever. The other main question that he got a lot on his channel was, where's their mom? And anytime he would get this question, he would just be like, their mom is a hero. Their mom is the hero of our family. She's amazing and we love her. And that's, really all that people can ask for. You don't want to dig too far because, what if she's dead, or what if she has left, she's divorced him and she no longer wants to be a part of the family. Their mom is a hero. That's enough for us. We're not going to pry. That is until January 27th, 2022, when another really famous TikToker travels to this village specifically to do a collab with Dadavate. He wants to bring his viewers over to see. He wants to bring more attention to this father who's trying to provide for 8 children and his elderly mother all alone. And when the TikToker gets there, he's already filming. Okay, he's got his film crew with him. He's got his phone out doing whatever TikTokers do. I don't know. He comes across what he thinks is a doghouse outside of the house. And he sees like a small person inside. And to him, he's thinking, oh, yeah, this is totally just one of the kids playing. So he walks up to what he thinks is a child playing in this outdoor doghouse. And what he sees amazes him. He sees a small woman and an even smaller mattress on the floor with a really tattered blanket. And the woman is chained to the wall at her neck like a dog. She looks malnourished. She's missing most of her teeth. And when he tries to talk to her, she's slurring her words so badly that he can't understand. It's also freezing outside, okay? And she's chained to the wall in what looked like a doghouse outside. So this TikToker is shocked, but he starts to ask questions of her like, are you okay? Do you need anything? What's going on? And again, he can't understand what she's saying because she's slurring her words so badly. And the whole time, like I said, he's filming. So the comments are running up. They want to know too, who is this woman? Why is she chained to the wall? Somebody get Dadavate on the phone. Okay, they didn't say that, but that's what they were thinking. So eventually, the TikToker leaves. Okay, he posts the video of him going to collab with Dadavate. There was that little, thing with the woman in the doghouse, and he just kind of let it blow over and was like, but I'm going to put my video up because that's what I came here for. And the people in the comments are like, no, absolutely not. We need answers. What's going on here? So the TikToker puts out a statement and he's like, hey, I know what you saw. I saw it too. I talked to Dadavate and he says everything's fine. Okay, that's his wife and he's going to start treating her better. Okay, so just calm down. Everything's fine. Would that be enough for you? Because it's definitely not enough for me. And it was not enough for the people in these comments because they made their way over to Dadavate, who is still making TikToks at this point, mind you. And they have questions for him. Hello, sir, what is going on? What is going on? And he says, listen, okay, I love my wife, but she's mentally unstable and she's violent towards my elderly mother and towards the children. So I chained her up. Outside? In the cold? You chained her? Okay, I have more questions. All along, he's still taking donations and people are still giving him donations. He's still making content. Would that be good enough for you? It wasn't for the people in the comments, okay? Theories ran wild. She's probably human trafficked. She's probably a kidnapped child. Maybe she's mentally ill because she's been chained up to a wall outside. And also, even if she were mentally ill, that just gives you the right to chain her up outside? Hello, what's going on? The internet is running wild. We want police intervention. We want to know who this woman is. And some internet sleuths went as far as trying to interpret what she was trying to say in those videos. Remember, I said she was really slurring her words and you couldn't really understand her? Well, some people went and they interpreted it, and this is what they came back up with. She's saying, the world doesn't want me anymore. Will they let me back? No one wants me. And finally, the room is full of rapists. So again, the internet is running wild. We want police intervention and we want it now. And so the police intervene. Thank God. The police are like, what up, fam? We got this. We're going to survey the locals. We're going to figure out what's going on. Everybody can chill. All right. And so the conclusion was, this is coming from the police. This is their first statement. There was no human trafficking. No human trafficking is going on. Okay. She wasn't abducted. All 8 of those kids are hers. We know because we did a DNA test. She's just chained up outside because she's mentally ill. Would that be good enough for you? No, and it wasn't good enough for the folk in the comments either. Where are her parents? We want to hear from them. Not this family that she's supposedly a part of saying, oh, she's just mentally ill, so we have her chained up outside. No, where's her mom? Where's her dad? Where are her siblings? We want to know from them that this is what she wanted and that she's okay. Also, why does any of that justify chaining her up to a wall? So, internet pressure, the police come out with a second statement, okay? All right, guys. All right, we hear you. We hear you. We've identified the woman. Her name is Feng Xing Yang. She was a homeless woman that came across a family and the family let them stay with her. She's been battling mental illness, but eventually she married into the family. Is there a marriage certificate? Well, no, because the county clerk's office lost it. Okay, does she have an identification card? Well, no, but her husband told us that this is her name. So we're just gonna have to take your word for it? Would that be good enough for you? No. So some more internet sleuthing happened. Turns out, okay, stay with me, because like I said, this is a wild ride. 24 years ago, a 12-year-old by the name of Li Ying went missing from the Sichuan region in China. Okay, the story is that she went to school one day and she never came home. So the internet is like, hello, this is her. This is Li Ying. We know that it is because, okay, they looked at the missing girl photos from when Lee went missing and then looked at the screen grab from the TikToker that had just been there taking videos. And they're like, oh, the eyes are the same. The nose is the same. While facial recognition and stuff like that is not super like reliable now, especially when you have to age a person up. She was 12 when she went missing. She's much older than 12 now, obviously. She did, however, have a really thick Sichuan accent. And Li Ying went missing 24 years ago from the Sichuan region. So the internet is running it up again. We think this is Li Ying. You need to go and investigate. There's no way that this is who you said it is. She's in danger. So the police put out a third statement. We've identified the chained woman. And I know you're thinking to yourself, no, you said that already. You said that you identified her last time. What do you mean you've identified her? We've identified her. She's actually not Feng Xing Yang. We were wrong about that. That was just kind of a mix-up in our records office. But her name is actually Shoutout Mei. Sorry, we fucked that up the first time. Her parents are dead, and their dying wish was that they wanted their daughter to be married. And so they asked a neighbor to help. But during the time when the neighbor was trying to help her find a husband, they got separated. And instead of that neighbor coming back and telling her parents, hey, I actually lost your daughter. I'm so sorry. We need to get the police involved so that we can find her. They just said, yeah, I married her off and everything's fine. And so her parents died happy. That's the story that the police gave us in their, what is this, the second or third statement at this point? Also, the place that they're saying that Shoutout Mei came from is across the country, like on the other side of the country. And I don't know if you know, but China is a really large place. So how'd she get there? She got separated from her neighbor and then she walked across China. Okay. Oh, and also she lost all of her teeth because of a genetic condition, not because of abuse. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So now we can all move on, right? No, there are so many questions. Did she walk across the country by herself? No one saw her walking across the country by herself. Oh, and my favorite question is, why the fuck was she chained to the wall? Hello? Hello? None of this is making sense. None of it's making sense. Whole time, Dad of 8 is still on TikTok, still collecting donations, still living his very free life after we found a chained woman in a doghouse outside of his home in the freezing cold. So at this point, not only is he still collecting donations, he's been offered a brand deal. And the internet is losing their fucking minds because how are we just letting this man run rampant after we found a chained woman in his yard? Everyone believes that this woman is actually Li Ying, okay, the 12-year-old that went missing 24 years ago. No one believes that she's Xiaowame. No one believes that. And we have even less faith in the police at this point because we're like 3 statements in and we still feel like you're lying to us. Even her uncle, Li Ying's uncle, has come forward and said, I believe that this is my niece. I want to offer a DNA test. I want to find out. So the police come out with a 4th statement. Guys, you have to chill out, okay? This woman is not Li Ying, okay? She's Xiaowame. We did a DNA test on her sister to prove it. I don't know where the fuck the sister came from, but we'll let that one rock for now. Okay, but what about the trafficking? How did she get here? What about the abuse? The chain? Hello? All the while, Dadavate is still living free. And no one's going to get him and ask questions. Okay, so this story takes a couple of turns, but one of the most interesting turns for me is that there was a group of 5 volunteers that went to China, to the hospital where this woman was being held. And I say being held because when they got there to check on this woman, she's being heavily guarded. Have you ever gone to a hospital and there were just like police standing outside and your visitors couldn't come and see you or you couldn't visit whoever you were going to see? Yeah, if that person was a criminal, maybe, but not if they were found chained up outside. Okay, but whatever. They get there, they get in, they try to ask her questions, they get caught, and they go dark. These 5 volunteers who went to try and find her disappear for over a week. They're not in contact with their families. They're not on social media. They're completely dark. They were probably arrested for trying to talk to her. Imagine. Also, the DNA test, remember when the police said that they did DNA on Xiaowame's sister to see if she was actually Xiaowame? Those DNA tests were never made public. So now the public is like, we have absolutely zero faith in the police right now. They are lying. They're telling actual lies. They won't prove anything to us. Also, the internet is dead set on her being Li Ying. So the buzz on this never dies down, okay? The internet is still up in arms. We want more answers. We want to know what's actually going on. And this is around the same time that the Beijing Winter Olympics happen. And so now there are a lot of eyes on China, okay? So even more eyes are being brought to this story. And finally, in my notes, I said the big boy cops. In my mind, because again, this is in China, so it's a little different than over here. But in my mind, the first set of cops who investigated this that put out those 4 bogus ass statements were probably like city cops, you know, like the Newark police. But this is now the state cops, okay? The big boy cops. They say, you know what? We hear you. We hear you. We're going to do an investigation. Don't you worry. We're going to figure it out. And so they start to investigate. And the public is like, okay, we have a little bit more faith in you guys. We have absolutely no faith in those other guys, but in you, we'll let you figure it out. So a week goes by. And finally, we get the truth. The chained woman was indeed Xiaowame. The DNA was made public, and it is confirmed that that's her. So how did she get here? Well, when May was 17, she got married. She had been living with her family and she found a man and she got married. But that marriage didn't last. It was actually kind of a terrible marriage. And a couple of years later, she got divorced. But when she got divorced and went back to her family, she was a completely different person. Her behavior had drastically changed. She had certain mental difficulties. She was slurring her speech. She was unlike anything like the person that she was before she left for that marriage. So a year later, her mom is desperate to get May married off because you can't just be a single woman in China. You have to have a husband. It's important, at least in this area of China. So she goes to a neighbor and she asks that neighbor to find someone for May to marry. And that neighbor is a known human trafficker. That neighbor took May to a village, a neighboring village, and sold her to a man for the equivalent of $20. And when that man had his fill of her, when that man was sick of her, he decided that he was going to sell her to a group of migrant workers. And for a couple years, May was stuck with these migrant workers doing jobs that she didn't want to do all over China. And when they were done with her, they said, let's take her back to our home village, which is the village where Dad of Eight lives, and we're going to sell her again. So at this point, May has been sold like cattle 3 times. And she's finally sold to Dad of Eight's father with the intention of becoming Dad of Eight's wife. Now, I know you're asking questions like, okay, so she is definitely the mother of these kids, right? She is. They did a DNA test and she is the mother of all 8 children. And your next question is probably, okay, but like the one child rule, how do we get around that? Well, it turns out after she had her first child, and who knows what their relationship was like at the beginning. I mean, it's fucked up that he bought a wife, period. But who knows what their relationship was like at the beginning, okay? Because they had one child and she did have that child in the hospital. And because of China's one child policy, they implanted an IUD after she had that child. IUDs are not forever, though. They are not evergreen. They fail after a while. So 10 years later, her IUD failed. And apparently, at this time, she was regularly being abused and she had a surge of hormones because her IUD had just failed. And yeah, between the age of 34 and 44, she gave birth to 7 more kids. So Dad of Eight was brought up on charges, specifically the charge of buying an abducted child or woman. And this is where I want to bring back in the story about the pandas. Okay. Remember when I told you that trying to buy a panda or owning a panda that you found on the black market gets you the minimum of 10 years in prison in China? Well, the maximum sentence for buying an abducted child or woman is 3 years. And sometimes you don't even have to spend those 3 years in jail. Sometimes it could be public service. So Dad of Eight could spend 3 years cleaning up the streets of China for everything that he did to Xiaowame. She's worth less than a panda. And that's the story of Xiaowame, the abducted girl who was chained to a wall like a dog and forced to give birth to 8 children.